How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today got a couple more missions done. Almost done this map now, Contamination. For the first one, I kind of got a bit of it done anyway. I wanted to get it set off early to kind of flush out what problems were going to go on with it. There's an AI route. It wants from Warnmay, what I'm calling Whammy, to the loading station. So kind of looping around the bottom of the map, really. And that seemed to be the only obvious way, unless I build a load of roads, which I don't want to do. Not for a one-off route. Yeah, so started sending it up that way. Essentially tried to make it avoid the road for a while because there's loads of bits of wood sticking out the road and all sorts. Brought it along the bottom of the map to there. It doesn't get too far at first, and then I go off and do another mission. But like I say, I kind of, to be fair, I was hoping like once it got past this first bit, it should tick along alright. But I kind of knew, I was waiting to see as well like which vehicle it sends. If it popped out a Voron or something, I know I probably would be alright, but yeah, it was a bloody Azov, which was never going to stand a chance. You could see to the left of the screen there was like more wood kind of laid in the road. As I'm going ahead, there's more. I tried to push it with this Lynx just because it was nearby, but it turns out the Lynx is a pretty bad one for pushing just because it does have the tyres sticking kind of beyond the front, so it more tries to climb the vehicle than push it along. And then yeah, I mean you can see here as it's cutting across, it gets bogged down in this road. I mean, if it can't even cross the road, then I don't think it ever stood a chance of kind of going down the road anyway. So I left that there for now to kind of see what will go on. Went through this mission, deliver chemicals from the northern facility. There's 3 barrels, one of which, by the way, has already taken some damage when I've not touched them, not been near them. Just as soon as the game spawned them, one already was damaged. So I'm kind of going back. I brought a crane with me. That's the rail tracks, really. I got the that thing stuck on the other day. There was that step pipe nearby. That might theoretically be a possible thing to load them on. I wouldn't recommend this, but the reason I was doing it was more for the curiosity, for science. Yeah, like this heavy transport vehicle, in theory, if I load them on the flatbed, I was thinking a combination of, one, this thing's pretty damn slow anyway, but 2, the trailer's like a nice fat chunky trailer, and it's quite a long trailer, so the theory behind it was that it might iron out some of the bumps and maybe not take so much damage on these chemical barrels. You can see the 3 of them there to the left of the screen. You just try, well, for one I had to lift this out of the water and the crane wasn't really strong enough, so that was taking the piss for a while. Then I tried to reline the trailer up, but it managed to get itself beached and just started rotating around 90 degrees on the tip of that hill. So yeah, I used the crane just to rotate the trailer in the end, but cut it out because the video was getting a little bit longer. And then now, this is how annoying they are. The game does a frame rate stutter, and that caused it to detach and land on the trailer, which I've not even tracked the objective yet. When I do, 1 barrel's already dead. I assume it is that one. The second one I'm trying to load on, most of the time these barrels stand upright, but for whatever reason this one kept more sitting diagonal for me, so I was like, well, I'm just going to have to lay it down on its side. It wasn't moving at first, but then it did. So that one took some damage, and then this barrel, I assume, is probably the one that already took damage before I'd ever got anywhere near it. So, because the trailer's on a little bit of a slant, I tried to load this one nearer the back, near those legs, just so hopefully it wouldn't tip. I think there was a little frame rate stutter, but regardless, I hadn't hit the trailer yet. The game just detached it from the crane. I didn't do that. Loaded that one back on. It started rolling a little bit, but actually propped up against that one. So yeah, just getting them on. 1 barrel's completely dead, and 2 have got a third health left. And that was attempting to be kind of gentle. I mean, the frame rate one is completely bullshit, because I can't help that the game does a frame rate stutter, and that stutter made the game think I've jolted the crane and then dropped it. Yeah, got them strapped on, so you'd think, right, well at least this trailer's like, yeah, big fat heavy trailer, should smooth things out. What did I get? Not even a truck length. Winches or straps, whatever, detached, and the last 2 barrels took damage, even though they didn't really move. I think it was the 2 barrels near the back of the trailer that had health, so maybe they slightly crashed into each other, or maybe it just automatically takes a chunk off because the winch is the strap, sorry, sort of unstrapped. Yeah, so I mean at this point I was like, well, the good news is, because I already knew, by the way, like as a not the best choice in the sense of, because it's a flatbed trailer, I actually think I got lucky when the straps came off that they didn't all roll off the trailer. But yeah, like, at some point, even if I got all 3 barrels on brand new, they'd probably take some damage somewhere, and then obviously it'll unstrap, and then they could all roll off the trailer. And I've not got a crane with this, so objectively speaking, it probably is just better and, I don't know, more sensible to say bring like a mule again that's got a crane but actually got a sideboard, so it's got some sides to the board. Makes sense. Yeah, so they can't actually fly off the trailer. Instead of trying to climb over the rail tracks, because I got beach last time, I thought I'd drive it along them this time, since both routes I'm going to end up kind of popping out on my garage anyway. You think it'd be easy to sort of go straight, but the rail tracks, obviously the hitbox of them, it makes you want to slide off to each side, so actually I'm quite surprised and happy that I made it through that train bridge without hitting anything. Or I was thinking like the ramps on the back of the trailer might catch the bridge, but we got out there pretty nicely. Just sped it up because, to be honest, pretty uneventful journey for the most part. Didn't de-strap them anymore, but obviously they're all fully damaged now, so I don't think it would at this point anyway. And yeah, got here. Once you can see that little yellow square, and there's also a vehicle that needs delivering there later, which is in the bigger white square. So I just thought, instead of parking this thing in the way, I'll move the barrels over to the mule. But then it made me get them all out the mule to specifically put them in this square. It's not the end of the world, but that's why I transferred them over, just so the flatbed, the heavy transport thing wasn't blocking this big white square. And I kind of just random, I was only parking it out of the way really, but as I drove over this thing, kind of shows you where this thing struggles. As soon as it catches anything to do with the trailer, it's sort of locked on the axle. But yeah, this vehicle just doesn't have the guts to even sort of, you know, like seesaw that big square barrel thing up so that it pulls the trailer over. It was having none of it really. I was only sort of messing around or whatever, but just kind of shows the point that this thing hasn't really got enough sort of probably grip and weight in that really, because I mean it was wheel spinning at that point. So anyway, now I've switched back to this. You can see again I respawned the AI to go, but yeah, it just gets beached as soon as it tries to cross that road. I actually moved the line a little further over where it was flatter and it still got stuck. So plan B, you can see the red line there though, that's kind of the route I've pretty much decided in the end, but I wanted to, well, I got the search and rescue step pike. I wanted something with a winch, but to be honest I was more assuming like I'm going to ram into the vehicle and help give it a bit of a boost, which I do. Gets it over that road. You can see to the right though, I'd have to go through that water where there's wooden planks and all sorts. I think it'd be a bit of a nightmare. I kind of used the thing I learned the other day where you can sort of send the AI through the forest, and I mean I obviously was giving this thing a little bit of encouragement, ramming trees down, but it was an Azov as well the other day that was able to ram trees down by itself, so I thought cutting a path through here is a better option than trying to make it along the road. Which I'm popping out back onto the road, but I just wanted to avoid all the yeah, like those planks of wood and everything sticking out of the ground, which do a lot more harm than good really. But I did notice earlier when I reversed the step pike like just near this where I was spawning it, I tested the winch thing and it actually showed me I could in theory put a winch to this, and I didn't want to at the time because I was already parked behind it. You can see there again it's theoretically offering it me, so I thought right, we'll go for the overtake. Which just shows you in this game, like, I mean for one that's a rear wheel drive Azov that was just getting stuck a minute ago. Now even when I'm dropping the hammer, it takes about 20 seconds just to overtake it and starts almost gaining back on me there. Yeah, fire a winch out. It wouldn't let me do towing mode, but it kind of, I don't think it matters in this case because I believe that AI is still just trying to drive to the next dot in the line you've drawn for it. A little tip for what it's worth, I started reeling it in a bit, but then at that point it starts honking his horn all the time, so you want to keep sort of a nice bit of distance on the rope just so he's not close enough to automatically keep honking at you the entire way. But yeah, I believe they've changed this at some point because I'm pretty certain, unless it's maybe with certain vehicles, on Sandswept anyway, where I had a glitch of getting another one of many, where the ferry disappeared and the semi-trucks were spawning at the port, and one of the semi-trucks tipped over because they were glitching into the port, and I tried to use a loaf to attach a winch to it to flip it over, and it wouldn't give me any winch points. So they've either updated it to where you can do winch points, or I don't know, like it could just be this vehicle works but a semi-truck won't, for example. And yeah, this, for some reason I released it near the end and then it started swerving off into the forest, so I managed to catch it and drag it back out of there. But you can see he's already kind of, at this point I was like, no, he seems to be overcorrecting. He's not straightening up, considering we're trying to go up here. Like, why? Why are you doing it to me? Dragged him as close as I could, disconnected it, like, just get in there. No.
Wanker.
Yeah, for some reason he just ghosted into the building. But what I realised, or I already had a suspicion, as I was dragging it, it mustn't have got that dot, so it was thinking it needs to go back that way, basically. So I had to click on the mission, cancel the route, redispatch the vehicles, but at least they start halfway because it was drawing like a green line. And yeah, I believe this is only a one-off route. But I basically went back with the step pike. It got a bit further on its own, but it was getting beached around here, so yeah, told it to respawn it again, dragged it out of there. You can see again, it's actually not quite close enough. See again, it's weird, it was getting stuck going across that water section, yet when I was dragging it there, it's like the winch cable's going slack, implying that this search and rescue step pike is struggling more than the bloody rear wheel drive Azov. You can hear it just constantly like squeaking and doing its air brakes every tenth of a second. But apart from that, all I was doing now was thinking like, I've got to remember really where I've drawn that line, because obviously the AI needs to hit all the dots. I saw it like, it counted that one, so I was like, right, it should be good. Released him at this point. Too much trust in these AI. Thought he's already probably going to need a little boost though. Already nearly getting stuck. Give him a bit of encouragement. And this is part of the mission. Apologies, I've not tracked it yet, but there's draw this AI route, and then there's also deliver a vehicle, which is a semi-vehicle, semi-truck, which I'm going to go and do now, but for the most part I think I fast forward through it because it was pretty uneventful. It spawns at like the water treatment plant, but I'm already on a main road at this point. I basically wiggle around the route, you can see the bridge up ahead, and then it's going down into like that chemical warehouse 501 place that we got built, so I didn't actually have to go across any difficult terrain, even if, like, assuming you should have built that road by now. Yeah, there's just nowhere that it was ever going to get stuck, really. I remember as well the frame rate nosedived to about 10 FPS, and I just ignored it and persisted, and it actually cured itself just when I got there, so good for me. Yeah, and then the last one, remove hazardous waste from the western facility. Another 3 bloody barrels, at least these ones have got all of their health. So I've got a crane there, but I needed some kind of vehicle, and it was semi-serious, but I was also like, this vehicle, I don't like how spongy the suspension is, because when you load it with materials, it bottoms out very easily, so I kind of thought like, well, why don't I use this then, because it's got very ridiculously spongy soft suspension, so maybe that'll help not damage the barrels. Like, that was my theory, and being as I've already got a crane there from delivering like the cargo containers that are there, I didn't need a vehicle with a crane for now, so yeah, like that was my plan. It's kind of, again though, more taking the piss out of how stupidly soft this thing's suspension is. And it fits through that bridge. Good little trial run. I was thinking at first, like, oh, I don't know if it's going to go well this way, and I was going to follow the road through the water, but I was like, I don't know actually, that ledge was not as bad as I thought. There's a bit more of a ramp to it than just a sheer drop. Actually, this thing has got nice steering. That's one thing I will say that's a positive for it. Right, so then obviously you're going to have to load them in again, which is a pain. So I got here and I was like, no, I'll back it up a little bit more, because just to get like the sideboard flat enough. Get this one. I think the first one went alright. Yeah, I find in the end, instead of lowering the winch cable, you can more hit the button on and off with the lowering the actual like boom of the crane. And even though like it's a bit more smooth, even though you might be mashing the button on and off. The second one, I didn't drop it there. I assume it must have clipped the top of the edge of the sideboard maybe, but I didn't make it drop. I don't think I did with that one either. I'm sure both of them it forced me. That's the reason I specifically put them all like right near the back, was because once I've strapped them down, at least if they do unstrap themselves, they might sort of huddle together and not fully spill over and go all over the place. So I figured I'll go kind of back out, past the port, etc, etc, along the bottom of the map. I did look at going the top way, but I basically have to go right to the top concrete plant and then all the way back down. So I just figured this is still slightly quicker. And it's a good job I kind of paused and held here for a minute. I'd saved the footage, but it deleted it. So on the way, I actually didn't take any damage from the barrels until now. Can you see where it goes from like road to where I've laid a sand road? As soon as I clipped that, even though it wasn't a harsh jolt or anything, it lasted about another second. It auto de-strapped them and then, yeah, crash dump sending utility. So it lost the footage, but I then saved it again whilst this window was still up. Send error report or don't send. That's what happened to me yesterday as well, and then when it went back on it, all 12 barrels were reset. This time, not quite as bad. It reset to here though, so I'd already driven, I don't know, half, 2/3 of the way to where I've got to deliver the barrels. Yeah, so a bit of a piss take. It's getting a bit old, like I'm not particularly a fan of keep wasting extra hours re-getting footage I've already got and having to go through extra footage to edit it out and blah blah blah, so they best hurry up and sort that shit, otherwise I'll be moving on to another game pretty damn soon. Yeah, I did low gear as I was going up that hill. I did it more the first time, but to be honest it didn't really matter too much. Again, the steering is quite nice for this. Make sure I don't catch the rear tyres too harshly on that rock. I will say, to its credit, I think the stupidly spongy suspension on this vehicle does help a little bit. So even though I kind of took it for that reason, but I don't know, more sort of mocking it than actually seriously considering it, I just figured, sod it. Every other vehicle I've used to move barrels, they've damaged it at some point, so just for the sakes of rotating out to a different vehicle. Went low gear across there, not sure why actually. Bit too much of an eager beaver. It should have been dropping the hammer. I'm sure I'd take it off low at some point. Maybe I didn't realise right now that I was in low. Because again, the first time I did do some of it in low, but then I did some of it out of low, and it seemed fine either way, so maybe like turning up that, you know, the sharp corner and climbing up the rocks and that, you might want to go in low range. I mean, people have said, by the way, I forgot to mention it in yesterday's video because it ended up being a glitch. Someone said, you know, laying sand roads for where you've got to take these, and I agree. I just purposely don't want to do it. By the way, that's just quickly where it did the error report last time. It auto de-strapped them and crashed, but it was fine that time. Here's a little look at like the suspension flexing around rather than forcing the sideboard to jolt too much. Yeah, especially, like, I agree though, I think, especially that the game is Roadcraft and you can build roads, that probably is, if you wanted to get all the barrels there without damaging them, lay a hell of a lot of smooth sand roads leading up to all the barrels you got to deliver. But that's obviously, one, going to be a hell of a lot of time. I'd theoretically be more willing to invest that time if the roads would also be of some use, generally speaking. Whereas they won't really. Everywhere the barrels were, you might build a road leading up to them, but it's not really going to benefit you in any other mission or anything particularly, so more stubbornness on my part. But yeah, like, I do agree though, that's a potential option. When I got there, by the way, they're de-strapped, even though it didn't seem like a particularly violent jolt or anything, but it is what it is. One barrel down, two have still got 2/3 of health. And I think, yeah, there, which fair enough, I did catch the chin at that point. Was a bit of jolting going on. One of the barrels understands the mission though. He didn't take any extra damage, still on 2/3. One of them dropped to 1/3 though, and one of them's completely done. Couldn't resist jumping across here. Another barrel down. Again though, One of them in there understands the mission. Still didn't take damage. And then yeah, speed ahead, there's not a lot going on. This mud across here was horrifically slow. It was sped up about 17 times quicker than it normally would be. Like 1,700%. Cutting across here, there's a little bump up on the bridge there, but that didn't cause any issues. Got across there. And then yeah, it's just up ahead is where they need dropping off. Well, again, yeah, like I say, out of 3, we've got one that has 2/3. I've got to be honest though, and this is just nitpicky kind of, probably OCD kind of thing, but my money, it already ends on 35, which I'd rather it be a round number if I'm honest. But one thing I sort of mentioned before, yeah, still had to ram that guy, spilt some sand as well, and I didn't take some damage. Again, that barrel. Look at this corner as well. Oh my god, Loaf would be proud. But that professional turning manoeuvre. Yeah, when I cash this in, because one of them's got a bonus, but it's at 2/3, it chops the money up a bit, and obviously rewards me like 8,733. So now my money is rounded up at the end like 468. But I just cashed in a objective, so 718. But yeah, I'd honestly rather sacrifice whatever the 3 it gave me, or preferably figure out if it'd pay me another 5 with a certain combination, so I have a nice round number. I'll be willing to make that sacrifice. Yeah, I think I'm on, was it 98% or something now? Or sorry, 95%. Yeah, there's like one mission and then, one route and then 2 missions and 2 side missions apparently. I wonder if they'll ever fix that infrastructure routes to get it kind of accounting for all of them in the game. But anyway, yeah, again, another stupid pain in the arse missions. Damaged themselves before I got there. Had a crash that reset the game, made me redo the mission again. So all in all, not good. Whoever added the barrels did a very bad job of quality control and all sorts. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a loaf, and I'll be back soon.